and Mario? Or was Wario?
Well, my son was Mario. I think my wife was Luigi, and then I think my daughters were too young. But yeah, we had fun with it.
I know you just like the villains or what?
Not always.
Cam, you guys are in a tight spot. You mentioned effort after the game. How do you fight? You said lack of, maybe you didn't see the fight. How do you get that fight back?
And I think it's a new week, new challenge. Um, I'm really looking at it as a tight spot now. I just think gotta play better ball. I know these last two games haven't been what we want, but I think you gotta be playing your best ball late in the season, and I like to think we're climbing to that. I think we just have to be ready to keep trying to get better.
Cam, as you look at the tape, what did it confirm or tell you when you watched the tape from Sunday?
I thought we did a much better job of trying to stop the run. A lot more heads to the ball, better tackling. Would I've liked to keep the numbers down even more? Yes. But you got to understand alternative running. And that when I talk about that, I mean, you get those outside, bubble passes and everything, and that's a way they can, try to mitigate the rush. But then we got to have good tackling out there, and I think we need to be better on that. Would I've liked to have more sacks? Yeah, we didn't have any, but I think that type of game, he's getting the ball out quick. We got to get our hands up. We just got to get off the field a lot earlier. A couple of those drives we had, chances to get off. We didn't get off, and we made ourselves more susceptible to, touchdowns.
A lot of veterans on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Rex Ryan said this defense looks old now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said looks like it fell off a cliff. What's your response to that?
I don't really worry about it. I'm worried about the guys in the room. Worried about attacking it, trying to get better. If I paid attention to all of that, I think I would have too much on my plate. So the goal is to win. I don't care how it's done. I take a lot of pride in what I do, and hopefully everybody else does too.
Cam, why aren't you guys finishing in the fourth? That's been the issue.
I think it's game to game. There's been different things. I think it's not just finishing the fourth. I think it's starting the half really well. Each game we've been up 10 points, but I think from a defense, you can't just rest and say our offense is going to put up points coming out of the break. We got to make sure we have our stands and not really surrender any points. When you look at the fourth quarter, it's just finish. It's just execution. It's not like a guy doesn't want it out there, but you have to be able to play your best ball late in the fourth quarter.
When you talk about not handling adversity and the fight not being there, are you concerned about maybe ruffling feathers inside this locker room?
No. Anything I say to y'all, I would say to them first. And I just think we all just got to get better. I challenge everybody. I challenge myself. First and foremost, that's always the way I've been raised. You can't look at anybody else. You got to look at yourself. And the way to get this bad taste out of our mouth is just play better football.
After the game, you talked about penalties and the bigger plays kind of snowballing attitude-wise. In your experience, how do you kind of not ride the roller coaster in a game like that?
I think you got to learn from your mistakes. In that game especially, there was things that didn't go our way, and we kind of just let that compound and compact on what we were trying to do. The good teams let that go. You're not going to get every call. Not everything's going to be in your favor. So you bounce back, you keep playing good football, and you lock in more.
Is there any concern that as a defense you guys are too predictable or maybe not making enough in-game adjustments?
No. Good teams can be simple, get it done, rally to the ball. You can show different coverages, you can move around, you can stem. But I don't think it comes down to the X's and O's. I think it just comes down to execution and finishing plays.
Cam, you got a lot of veteran guys in that room. Guys have had a lot of success, high pedigree. When you're not meeting that standard, and it's unusual for this group to maybe have that, how do you avoid guys sort of pointing fingers at each other?
I think, it starts with the older guys in the room, setting the tempo. addressing that. But you know, it gets back to practice. It gets back to your fundamentals. You know, I think sometimes you can try to play hero ball and try to get outside yourself. But no, I think you have to rely on your technique, get back to it, and then when you get to that game, you know, show what you're about.
Was it a coincidence? A lot of guys on Wednesdays, veteran day off. Nobody on defense had one yesterday. Was that a message sent that you guys got to?
I don't know if it's a message. Just trying to get better.
What stands out to you about watching the Colts on tape?
Man, they have a lot of things going right for them. Offensive line is very stout. Starts with Quentin Nelson. Jonathan Taylor I think should be, you know, should be leading the race for Offensive Player of the Year, MVP. You know, they don't turn the ball over a lot. You know, their quarterback is having a lot of success getting it out to a lot of different guys. You know, they have good tight ends, good wide receivers. I love this game because you're going to be challenged week in and week out, and you know the challenge starts with us.
In a perverse way, you know, is it almost better that you're playing the best team in the team with the best offense in football halfway through the season to kind of make sure that attention gets refocused immediately?
Yeah, you know, I love challenges, and you know, I think our group does too. So to go out and play against, you know, arguably the best team in football right now. Looking forward to that.
What's going to be the big key for you guys against an offense like that?
I think Jonathan Taylor he requires everybody's focus. He is lighting people up. He is bouncing off blocks. His contact balance doesn't get talked about enough. And so we got to have multiple guys to the ball. We got to make sure we really rally. And then, you know, we got to get them to turn over the ball. I know we haven't had turnovers in the last couple of weeks, and I think that's a glaring mistake on our part. But, you know, we're going to try and change our fortune this week.
Okay, when you say something after a game like not enough fight, how do you walk the line of knowing that's going to be a little bit of a can of worms that guys have to answer for the next week versus you're a leader on this team and you got to just call it how you see it?
Let's fight. Like, let's play ball. You know, I'm not going to shy away from it. I think we just got to play better ball. You know, if we have a problem with it, let's handle it on the field. You know, everybody's been open with me. I'm not running from it. So, you know, just know it's coming from a good place, and, you know, I want our defense to be successul.
How quickly do you think you can get on the moving train? You think you'll be ready to play a little bit on Sunday?
Yeah, if I'm asked to play, I'm going to be ready. Yeah.
You take a lot of pride in stopping the run, tackling is a big part of your game?
Yes, yeah, it is.
You played a lot of snaps in the box, but also at free in New England, kind of bouncing back and forth. How did you develop that as part of your game, being as versatile as you can be?
Just practice. Trying to do what the coaches tell me to do, coach me up to do, to the best of my ability. So, yeah, just practice and keep working.
I know this offseason was tough with the ankle surgery. And how do you feel recovered from that, and how much did that affect your ability to pick up a scheme and get going?
I feel healthy. Yeah, I feel healthy. I feel healthy now.
Yeah. Is it just a new coach in New England? It's obviously you and two safeties they let go since the end of camp. Is it just a new philosophy, or what kind of happened with how things they moved?
I couldn't really tell you. I couldn't get into specifics of what they were thinking. It was a lot of new things, but I'm happy to be here.
What other? Obviously, you're familiar with Jabrill, but are there other parts of the Steelers that you were familiar with, or anyone that you were able to talk to that said, "Hey, I'm going to help you integrate in here so we can get things rolling fast"?
I knew a couple of guys over here. Some of them were on the other side of the ball. Janu was on the other side of the ball. Danny, who just hurt his leg. But, yeah, Pep was really the main guy, especially with him being a DB. But there's definitely a couple other people being helping with the culture and things like that.
Do you have a history with Mike Tomlin going back to the draft process or anything like that when you came in the league? Or?
I always wanted to play for him. Just seeing how he does his business from the outside looking in. I always wanted to play with him, so this is a big deal.
You just went up against this team a few weeks ago. What did you learn about just like how they play football and just like the things, the notes that you take from this organization?
Yeah, it's a lot of that. Just them being an opponent. It's different being here, but I mean, you definitely learn. You learn the opponent when you play against them. So, yeah, definitely go back to that and try to fit in. Yeah.
Kyle, what's the whirlwind process like when you join a new team? Like, are you trying to cram watching some stuff that they've been doing recently, seeing what's given them problems, and what kind of structures they play and that kind of thing?
Not so much the problems, more so just learning the scheme, teammates, and things like that. And you learn everywhere you can as things roll on. But you don't really look at the mistakes. You just try to learn the basics first, fundamentals of the defense, and then you go from there.
I didn't have nothing to do with it, but
Did you have an inkling? Did you know before we all knew?
no, I didn't know. I found out pretty much when everybody found out. But I'm definitely happy.
Is there anything you can teach him or tell him about this defense that might get him to speed?
Yeah, just trying to relate some things in, the previous language he learned, just to try to transition, the learning process a little easier. But he's a smart guy, sharp dude. He'll pick it up just as fast as I did.
So you can kind of be his translator a little bit. You know his old language.
For sure. Yep, just to help him out a little bit faster.
How much does it help the chemistry in the secondary that you guys have that previous relationship, even if it is a different scheme and a different language?
It's always good when you play with a guy prior. But, it's a lot of guys who play together in our defensive backfield. So adding one more should definitely help.
Were you surprised that he had kind of seen his playing time reduced over there after everything he'd done previously?
I was a little surprised, but that's the nature of the league, But the good thing about it is each year you get a chance to come prove yourself. I know the player he is, and I know he's gonna come over here and do it. So I'm excited for him to have a fresh start. Get back healthy, got that chip on his shoulder. I can't wait to see him out there.
As a defense, what do you guys have to change the way that you defended Tucker Kraft to now tackle Tyler Warren?
Just got to be more detail oriented, have our eyes in the right place, play the proper leverages, and just most importantly, just compete. Those guys get paid too, but they compete at a high level, be aggressive at the catch point, good things happen for you.
You've been in the league for a little bit. How much have you seen the change of how tight ends are used in different offenses? How has that kind of evolved?
It definitely changed a lot. You got the faster, shiftier guys now. They still have the guys who block. We usually call those the Y tight ends, but the U tight ends are kind of taking the league by storm now. They can get in bigger personnel, spread you out. You got some mismatches with the backers, or if they like to match up on a safety, a tall, athletic tight end provides that. So it definitely shifted, but defense has shifted too. It's kind of positionless. You got to be asked to and be capable of doing a lot of different things in just one job. So, it's a give and take.